sound of the police. Whoop, whoop. That's the sound of the beast. Whoop, whoop. That's the sound of the police.
How do I know y'all a singing group? Why don't y'all sing something?
I got nothing but love for you, baby. Got nothing but love for you, baby. I got nothing but love for you, baby. Got nothing but love for you, baby. I got nothing but love for you, baby. Got nothing but love for you, baby.
A king is born. I told you before. A king is born. Now I told you before. A king is born. Oh yeah. Oh no. Like a beast in the jungle, in the heat of the rumble, I ain't got nothing to lose. Hey, I've been fighting these hard times in the ghettos of my mind. Now it's victory that I choose. Hey, yes, my soul is blessed, the king is born. Mama, I confess I'm a bad, bad man. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend, legend. 'Cause I've been down so long that my crown is gone and stretching. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend, legend, legend. Like a bull in a glass house, no bull about to smash out. Can't nothing stand in my way. Hey, I don't care what the place is, from the penthouse to pavement. You better hear what I say. Hey, yeah. Yes, my soul is blessed, the king is born. Mama, I confess I'm a bad, bad man. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend, legend. 'Cause I've been down so long that my crown is gone and stretching. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend, legend, legend. King is born. Yeah, I told you before. Yeah, a king is born. Been broke before, but I never been broken. Told you before. I am the truth now, the truth has spoken. A king is born. Born.
King is born. Hey everybody, welcome to Through the Fire podcast with TJ. I'm TJ. Listen, we gon' I have a ton of stuff to get through today. This will be part one of part two of the devil in blue, a few bad apples, because a few bad apples deception. Because all the stuff I got to get through today, all the stuff I got to get through would take me. I would have to be up here for 6 hours. I'm not going to be up here for no damn 5-6 hours. Like, I don't know what's wrong with these people be on these damn live streams for 5 and 6 and 7 hours. I understand it's the money. I get it. A lot of those streamers that'll be up there a long time, they be getting the money, but they be getting about, $400-$500 an hour on their super chats and stuff. So I get it, but good God, ain't that much goddamn talking in the world. It ain't that much talking in the world, if you ask me. But that's just me, my thing. And maybe I'll be saying something different if I was getting, $300-$400 per hour super chats. Maybe I'll be singing a different tune too, but maybe I'll be sitting up here if I was getting that kind of money an hour for 5 or 6 hours. But I don't think I got it in me. But anyways, let me just get right into it. Let me stop rambling. Let me say this off rip. If I had a son, and that joker became a cop, let me tell you something. For me, that would signify that I failed miserably as a father. And I would have to seriously consider eating my gun if my fucking son or daughter became a police officer. That's how low I view people who work as police officers. These are not good people. I don't give a damn what the propaganda say. I don't give a damn who jumps up and say differently. I don't give a damn if your husband, your son, your nephew, your daughter, your auntie, your mama, your funky ass daddy. I don't give a damn who you know that's an officer. They are a complete and utter piece of garbage. They don't deserve to walk this earth. They gave up the right to continue to live. Especially if you are a black police officer, you are a piece of garbage. You are a traitor to your own kind. You are a traitor to the race. You are a traitor to humanity. Absolutely. That's how I feel about police officers. No, there's not a single solitary police officer that I'm going to sit up here and say that I will ever be cool with. Just because I'll be cordial with your evil, murderous ass doesn't mean that me and you will ever be cool. There's nothing redeemable as far as human waste like as a police officer. I'm sorry. And for those of you who disagree with me, go fuck yourself. I don't care. I see very well. I hear very well, despite the fact that I'm getting older. I still see and I still hear very well, and I do understand very well. I used to compare police officers to garbage men, and then I had to apologize for garbage men because I used to say, well, the police, they only show up to, clean up the garbage that's been left behind. But then I had to reassess the fact that actual garbage men do an actual service to the community. The police, all they do is destroy, murder, kill, disrupt. There's nothing protective about police officers. And if you think so, let me ask you this question. When is the last time a police officer was recognized, honored, or led the news or any form for stopping or preventing a crime? Or do they just show up after the shit's over with? And how many times these motherfuckers show up for a welfare check and ended up killing the person that needed care? There's nothing redeemable about a police officer. There's nothing redeemable about the field. It is a scourge on our country. It is a black spot. It is the second original sin of our country is law enforcement. The first original sin, obviously, or for those of you who are, it's not so obvious to, is slavery. So just to give you If you didn't understand where this is going today, now you know. So let me get into this so we can get the fuck up out of here. And of course, the thing that spawned all of this, or these next two streams, is what happened with Sonia Macy. You know, it's I am sick of saying, feeling, hearing the phrase, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of saying I'm sick and tired. And I'm sick and tired of saying I'm being sick and tired of being sick and tired. Promise you I am. So let me get into this. And so I probably have lost 99.99% of the people that are watching, because most of the motherfuckers watching thinks that there's something noble about law enforcement, and there is not. There is not. There's something more noble with a raccoon being bitten by a raccoon with rabies. That's something more noble than being a police officer. Full stop. So let me get into this. So, to say the least, the relationship between black folk and law enforcement, to say that it's rough, that's an understatement. This acrimonious relationship is deep rooted in a history that dates back to the early 1700s. Many people, particularly and especially in conservative circles, argue that if black people or black individuals will simply comply with police, then there will be no issue. That damn perspective overlooks the historical context of policing in this country and how it's been shaped by a legacy of racial violence. And this is not entirely an oppressor racism stream, but you cannot talk about law enforcement but without talking about the historical racial violence that they were groomed to do. Now, understand, the mistrust between blacks and the police isn't just a social issue. I can make the argument that it's a public health crisis. Now, to quote my good friend, take heed to the message. Let me share something with you. For any black person that does not know this, let me be the first to let you know. And let me be clear, and I'm going to try to say it slowly, and I'm going to try to say it emphatically. The police are not your friends. They are not here to help you. The police are only here to do two things for black people: arrest and kill. Nothing else. And I'm going to spend some time on this stream breaking down why. So, protect and serve is, for me, is the biggest con ever pulled on Americans. I find the notion of protect and serve as a strong marketing campaign that has spun a piece of trash slogan into gold that has shaped the image of that damn institution. Now listen, the phrase protect and serve, let me tell you where it first came from. It first came into use around 1955 or so as the official motto of the Los Angeles Police Department, the LAPD, those bastions of virtue. Now check this out. The term protect and serve was selected as part of a contest held within the department and was meant to kind of encapsulate the mission of the LAPD, those bastions of virtue. And over time, the slogan was adopted by police departments all across the country, and it became synonymous with law enforcement as a whole. So the phrase protect and serve was born out of a contest of one of the most corrupt police departments in the country, if not the. I don't know if it's right now. I think Mesa, Arizona might be the most corrupt, but at the time it was neck and neck between the LAPD and the Chicago PD of the most corrupt, police departments, with New York running a good third right behind them. Now, the purpose behind the slogan was to create a positive image for the police, which begs the question: why did the damn police need a positive public image overhaul in the first damn place? Especially during a time when the LAPD and police departments in general were facing, they were facing increasing scrutiny and criticism because of their conduct and the outcomes of their conduct. And by using this slogan, the police was essentially able to rebrand themselves as the guardians of a fucking community, always ready to step in, always ready to help. If you don't believe me, who remembers McGruff the Crime Dog? Marketing. Or the neighborhood, I don't know if you guys had this, but where I came from, the neighborhood officer friendly. Marketing. Why has the police department need a strong marketing campaign to reassure the public about their image? Why did they need this in the first place if those bastards are noble? Nobility does not require a marketing campaign. But the reality is, particularly for Black folk, this has often been a very different, the image of the police departments have been very different for us. Now, let's talk about the misleading reality behind the slogan, okay? For Black people in the United States, the idea that the police are here to protect and serve doesn't necessarily match our lived experiences. Historically, law enforcement has played a role that is more about abuse and humiliation than about protecting and serving. And as I just discussed before, modern policing in the United States has its roots in slavery, meaning the first organized law enforcement agency was something deemed to be called the Slave Patrol, which was designed to abuse, humiliate Black people, and maintain the system of slavery. This shit didn't just disappear after slavery ended. It evolved like the enforcement of Jim Crow laws, and more recently, the war on drugs, or New York stop and frisk, or and which all of those things disproportionately targeted Black men. They were actually designed to target Black men. So let me tell you something, Rudy Giuliani, go fuck yourself. I hope you choke on a chicken bone and die. I really do. Now, let me tell you something about some of the civil rights leaders, like Dr. Martin Luther King. He was keenly aware of the disconnect between the idea of the protect and serve and the reality that Blacks were facing. In his letter from the Birmingham jail, Martin Luther King, he criticized the police for their role as law enforcement officers, for how they enforced unjust laws and maintained the status quo system of brutality against Blacks. King and people of his era experiences and observations, they highlighted how the police were often more concerned with maintaining dominance in a way that protected the privilege of themselves and white folk rather than serving everybody. Remember, there was a Dr. Martin Luther King was said to have said that I fear I am integrating my people into a burning building. Dr. King apparently expressed this sentiment during a conversation that he had with Harry Belafonte in probably during the last years of his life before he was assassinated. And unfortunately, this statement wasn't part of a public speech that King gave, but what he really thought privately, that he feared that before he was assassinated, he started to understand that he probably led his people this integration thing that he did into a burning building. But let me tell you something. This is the very ideal that caused beef between him and Malcolm X. Malcolm X railed against what King was doing. Now, the disconnect between the slogan and reality is why many black people, especially blacks, see this whole protect and serve as laughable. It promised safety, fairness, but the police have been the source of danger and life-ending harm when it comes to black folks. And when black people are disproportionately stopped, searched, arrested, and killed by the police, it's hard to see the service in that. And when they take these actions and they are unjustified and they justify them under the guise of protection, it often feels like police are protecting the interest of themselves at the expense of black bodies. That's how I feel about it. For me, protect and serve is the marketing con of the century. It's a con. This is why I call it a con, because like any good marketing slogan, protect and serve was designed to create a certain perception to sell an idea. And that idea was that police are somehow benevolent. And the fucking culture has embraced it, ate it up. I wouldn't care so much if the white dominant culture embraced it and ate it up that the police are so benevolent, but we got a portion of black folk who believe that. These lost souls, I don't know what the hell to say about these poor lost souls who believe that, especially since a lot of them have been at the have suffered at their hands. Now, the protectors of all citizens helps to maintain public perception of trust in law enforcement, even when the actions of the officers in the department fail. It's a slogan that is easy to believe if you haven't personally experienced the dark, brutal, evil side of policing. But for those of you who have, especially black folk, this slogan, protect and serve, is a cruel joke. And they are laughing and playing in your face. It's a promise that has been broken over and over and over again. If you don't believe me, go ask Sonia Macy's family. If you don't believe me, go ask their family. This is why so many activists and civil rights leaders have called for a rethinking of how we understand and implement public safety rather than relying on a system that historically targets and harms blacks. You know, I mentioned Malcolm X a little while ago. He spoke openly about the role of police in maintaining oppression, and he famously said, we as a people are nonviolent. We are nonviolent with people who are nonviolent with us. Let me say that again. Malcolm said, we as a people, We are nonviolent with people who are nonviolent with us. Do I need to break that down for you guys to tell you what that actually means? It means we don't believe. Malcolm's message was, I don't believe in turning the other cheek. I don't believe in singing We Shall Overcome. That slogan highlighted and emphasized and was a mantra that the Black Panther Party used and highlighted the need for self-defense in the face of police violence. That's, you goddamn right. The Black Panther Party, Malcolm X, the Black Panther Party, they all believed that there should be a self-defense against the actions of the police. It's because the police and their protect and serve is the biggest con ever pulled on America. It is absolutely a con.
Now with breaking news overnight in the shooting death of Jonathan Price, a black man who was killed while trying to break up a domestic dispute. The police officer has now been charged with murder, and Marcus Moore is in Wolf City, Texas with the story. Good morning, Marcus.
Well, George, good morning. That arrest came just hours after people took to the streets of this small Texas town demanding justice. You can see the memorial here. Jonathan Price, an admired member of this community, shot and killed at this convenience store.
This morning, Wolf City police officer Sean David Lucas charged with murder in the death of Jonathan Price.
Oh, Lord, answer my son. Oh, my baby.
Price, a 31-year-old city employee, was killed in this convenience store parking lot after witnesses say he was trying to defuse a heated argument between a couple inside the store.
3 gunshots went off, and I turned and looked at them, and I said, a cop just shot somebody.
According to the Texas Rangers, which is handling the investigation, when Officer Lucas arrived, Price walked away in, quote, a non-threatening posture. The Rangers say Lucas then tasered Price before shooting and killing him. Adding, the preliminary investigation indicates the actions of Officer Lucas were not objectively reasonable. Price was a beloved pillar of the community who worked with and coached children and had a personal training business. Overnight, more than 100 people showing up to honor Jonathan's life outside the gas station where he was killed, locking hands and wearing masks.
Black people aren't making it up. We're not playing a race card. There is a problem.
The officer's bond was set at $1 million, and there's still a lot we don't know about what happened in this parking lot. Price's family, though, demanding the officer be arrested. And, Michael, that's exactly what happened overnight.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA.
Yeah, who gives a damn Robin Roberts? Who gives a damn Robin Roberts? I'm going to be dropping those examples in throughout the remainder of this stream to illustrate what I'm talking about. To understand why there's a, to really understand why there's a deep mistrust of law enforcement with black folk, we need to go back to the origins of policing in the United States. I alluded to this earlier. The first organized police force was in the were in the southern states and was actually called slave patrols. These patrols were established in the 1700s, and they were tasked with controlling the enslaved population by any means necessary. Their duties included catching runaway slaves, breaking up gatherings, terrorizing them to prevent slave revolts. This historian, her name is Sally Hayden, she had a book called The Slave Patrol, and she documents how these patrols were legally mandated by law and were considered a crucial part of maintaining the system of slavery. So these slave patrols were codified in law, and slave patrols were essentially the first police forces, and their main job was to keep black people in line. That was their main job. They were brutal, often used excessive violence, and they operated with the full backing of the court system. And then after the Civil War, when slavery was abolished, these slave patrols didn't go nowhere. They evolved and morphed into into what we commonly now know as law enforcement. And many of the former slave patrol members became police officers. And then their children 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 became police officers, which is where we are today. And the same attitudes and practices that were used to brutalize black people during slavery, they're carried out, they carried over into this new form of quote unquote law enforcement. You know, after slavery ended, the South introduced these things called black codes, and later were defined as Jim Crow laws to maintain white supremacy and control of black people. The history of America has been this obsession with controlling Negroes, blacks. They are obsessed with it, even to this day. Law enforcement played a key role in enforcing these laws. The police were not just passive enforcers. They actively participated in maintaining their racial thuggery, even to this day. That's why you have like 80 to 90% of police officers are Caucasians. They are patrolling and policing, quote unquote, patrolling neighborhoods, and people black neighborhoods are poor. I personally live in a predominantly black neighborhood, and it's middle and upper middle class, and we got way too many damn police officers over here for these peaceful working class, upper middle class people. It's crazy. We don't have issues over here, but we have a hell of a lot of police officers over here. And before you make the argument, well, it's because it's peaceful because it's the police, that's a damn lie. It's peaceful over here because the people are peaceful. So back to what I was saying. During Jim Crow, police were responsible for laws that kept black people segregated from whites in public spaces. But looking back, given where we are today, I don't know why that was a bad thing anymore. Let me ask you guys a question. What social or economic benefit has come from us integrating with these white folk? We've had nothing but trouble ever since we integrated with these people. When we had trouble before, but I believe they've gotten worse. I can make the argument that integrating with them has led to the downfall of the black family structure. And now that I'm thinking about it, the original source of the tragic issues that plague black folks. Remember Martin Luther King said, I think I led my people into a burning building? I think I integrated my people into a burning building. Were we ever meant to integrate with these folks? These folks despise us on a genetic level. I believe it's in their biology, it's in their DNA. Police have also participated in lynching and several other different forms of racial violence. You know, this history that I'm talking about, it's well known, it's well documented. This lady, Michelle Alexander, she wrote a book in 2010 called The New Jim Crow. I think you guys should go read it. It explores how the criminal justice system has been used to violate and decimate black people. Starting from the end of slavery all the way through today. And law enforcement agencies became the enforcement of a system designed to break the will and, if possible, exterminate black people. And this role has had lasting effects on the relationship between black folk and law enforcement. No cap.
How do I know y'all a singing group? Why don't y'all sang something?
I got nothing but love for you, baby. Got nothing but love for you, baby. I got nothing but love for you, baby. Got nothing but love for you, baby. I got nothing but love for you, baby. Got nothing but love for you, baby. All right, let's fast forward to today. And you will find that the legacy of these slave patrols or the slave patrol type policing still influence how police officers interact with black folks. Let's look at the numbers. And I know people don't like numbers, but fuck y'all. Statistics show that blacks, this is nothing new, you guys. Stats show that blacks are disproportionately violated and victimized by police more than their white counterparts. And that's according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics. These white folks' own numbers. I've told people over and over again, white folk know more about black folk than black folk know about black folk. These people are obsessed with us. They study us. They count us. They research us. We're like an anthropological study to them. These white folk can't help themselves and they're fascinated by our behavior, by our culture, by our resilience, by how we do things, and they're fascinated by the impact of the system on us that they have ran us through, or should I say, we've allowed them to run us through. Blacks, according to these white people data, blacks are more likely to be subjected to the use of violence by police than anybody else. A study published in the proceeding of the National Academy of Science in 2019, so this is very recently, found that black men are about 3 times more likely than white men to be killed by police. You guys know this. But protect and serve. These numbers are just numbers. They actually represent actual people. They actually represent people who've been murdered by these fuckers. This is a reality for a lot of families and a potential reality for anybody. Let me tell you something, especially you protect and serve Negroes, I support the police Negroes. How good do you feel when your ass get pulled over? When you driving down the highway, driving down the road, and them fucking red and blue lights pull up behind you? How do you feel in that moment? You protect and serve Negroes. Are you really sitting there calm, 100% confident that your ass is about to make it home without being executed? Do you really feel that way, you lying bastards? For many blacks, encountering the police is just a routine part of life. But sometimes it's deadly, or could be deadly, or it could be a threat to your body and the safety of your body. Let me explain this. The constant threat of police violence and the fear that comes with it can have some serious consequences, believe it or not, on the health of black people. There just isn't a matter of physical danger in dealing with cops, but it's also about your mental, emotional well-being. Research published by the American Journal of Public Health in 2018 found that black men who have frequent encounters with the police department are more likely to experience psychological problems. They're more likely to experience anxiety and depression. The stress can lead to long-term physical health like high blood pressure, heart disease, erectile dysfunction. Dealing with these bastards, it ain't just them murking you that can be a problem. It's also the biological impact on your body as well. The fear of police also creates a situation where Black people may have to avoid seeking help from law enforcement, even when there might be a real need for law enforcement. You have to pause and think: is this worth it? And let me tell you something. I strongly support that no one of color invite voluntary police interaction. No one. You should not invite voluntary police interaction. If you do not believe me, Sonia Macy should be a cautionary tale of why you do not call these evil demons. They are agents of murder. The American Public Health Association has recognized this issue. And they recognized that, and they declared the American Public Health Association, they declared that policing is a public health issue because of calling, and because of this, a lot of that organization have called for reforms. I don't think that the fucking police department needs reforms. These bastards know what they're doing. They don't need no additional training, no cultural sensitivity. They don't need none of that bullshit. That's just all symbolism. And they offer that, and they use those talking points because Black folk, we accept symbolism as payment for being violated. That's why you don't see, that's why there's no wholesale adjustments within these fucking bureaucracies, because all they got to do is offer you a symbol of something, which is free to them, and we go, okay, that's good, I'll forgive you. We are the most forgiving motherfuckers. I can't stand it. Makes me physically ill when I see family members on TV, mothers, fathers, brothers, aunties, uncles, Black folk on TV talking about, I already forgive them. I forgive them for what they did. I ain't forgiving shit. I ain't forgiving shit. You do so. Just know, I ain't forgiving a motherfucking thing. And neither is my father, my grandfather, my uncles, my male cousins. This is a subject that we have talked about in detail. We ain't forgiving nothing. Read between what I'm saying. We ain't forgiving a goddamn thing. If something were to happen to us and we're law-abiding, tax-paying, family men, and something happens to one of us at the hands of these fucking demon devils, forgiveness is not what we're going to be doing. We will not be giving public interviews. We will not. Just understand, we will not be practicing forgiveness. We're going to be practicing something, but it ain't fucking forgiveness. Now let me talk about this. Let me talk about this just comply bullshit. Addressing the argument of just comply. Many white conservatives and some Negro conservatives argued the point that if black people just comply with the police officers, they won't face any problems. Just comply. Now, on the surface, this might not seem like it's such an on the surface, it might not seem like this. It might seem like this is a very reasonable argument. Just comply. But that's an overly simplistic way of looking at things, and it really ignores the reality of how policing has historically functioned in relation to black people. First, it assumes that compliance will always be met with fair treatment, which isn't the case. We've had high-profile incidences like the death of Philando Castile in Minneapolis, who was shot and killed with his fucking 3-year-old baby in the backseat while complying with an officer's request to show his ID. Or what about Elijah McCain, who was killed after simply walking home from the store? This highlights how compliance doesn't guarantee that these murderous thugs won't snuff you out. These cases are not isolated incidents, but are a part of a broader pattern where blacks are often treated as a threat and they treat our lives as fucking disposable. Just comply. Second, the just comply argument overlooks the deep-seated fear and mistrust that many black people have towards police officers, which is based on centuries of violent policing practices. Asking someone to simply comply with an officer when that officer represents an institution that has historically oppressed their people is asking us to ignore the very real and rational fear. That's like telling somebody who's been bitten by a poisonous snake to fucking keep putting your hand in the cage, in the box, so you can keep getting bit by the poisonous snake over and over and over again. Oh, just trust it. Just comply with the snake. The poison won't bite you. You're not gonna lose your arm or your life. The snakes, if you just comply with the snake, comply with the poisonous snake. It's like compliance doesn't feel like a safe or reasonable option when the stakes are life and death. Protect and serve is the biggest con ever pulled on Americans.
Back now with a fatal police shooting of an unarmed black man in Texas. The moments leading up to it caught on video. NBC's Ron Allen has more. Let me warn you, the images are disturbing.
The video appears to show Patrick Warren Sr. walking out his door toward a police officer. An attorney for the family who released the video says they called police asking for a mental health resource officer and that one had visited Warren the previous day, accompanied him to a hospital, and then back home. The officer, out of frame, is heard telling Warren to show his hands and get on the ground, while Warren's family pleads with the officer not to shoot him. A shot is heard, which is later described as a taser. As the video cuts from the doorbell security camera to a cell phone, Warren appears to be getting up from the ground.
Sit down! Sit down! Please!
Warren, age 52, died later at a hospital.
What went wrong here, in your opinion?
Well, they should have sent a mental health resource officer who was capable of dealing with the mental health crisis. Instead, they sent a hostile, poorly trained officer who resorted too quickly to the use of force.
In a statement, Killeen's police chief said, "This incident is rightfully of great concern to the community. It is my duty to ensure a thorough investigation is conducted." Police identified the officer as Reynaldo Contreras, a 5-year veteran of the force, now on administrative leave, while Warren's family demands the officer's arrest and that he be held accountable for Warren's death. Ron Allen, NBC News.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow.
Yeah, fuck the Killeen police chief. Another thing we should not discount when they're defending these bastards is the few bad apples argument. When police chiefs and law enforcement leaders use the phrase "a few bad apples" to describe incidents of police misconduct, it feels like a way to downplay the severity of the problem. This phrase suggests that the issue is just limited to just a few people or just a few within force, rather than acknowledging that these incidences might be symptomatic of a deeper systemic issue within these fucking departments. Many blacks have disproportionately borne the brunt of these police abuses. These few bad apples, these few bad apples nonsense is frustrating and is dismissive, and it ignores the widespread nature of the issue. The problem with the bad apples narrative, this phrase, "a few bad apples," it originates from the same, it's actually an abbreviated phrase. The full phrase is "a few bad apples spoils the bunch." When the police officials use this phrase, they are leaving out the part about the spoiling the bunch. Instead, they imply these bad officers are isolated and that the system is just fine. This is problematic because it minimizes the real and pervasive corruption within the departments that have led to a lack of trust, especially with black folks. So when we talk about a few bad apples, it also allows those in power to distance themselves from the actions of these motherfucking officers on the street, rather than taking accountability for their involvement in cultural norms that they foster, that they encourage these, and that encourages these murderous conducts by the police officers. It shifts the focus from their culpability, the leadership culpability, to the idea that simply removing these few bad apples, that it would just simply solve the problem. But if the bad apples keeps popping up, is it really just a few, or has the bunch been spoiled? For Black Americans, the idea that police misconduct is just the result of a few rogue officers feels like a gross oversimplification. This history has left many of us with a deep-seated mistrust of law enforcement, and a mistrust that is only reinforced when we see the repeated instances of brutality and misconduct being dismissed as the work of a few bad apples, and not the fact that the bunch is just as bad. The bad apple phrase is just a fucking excuse by focusing on individual officers rather than the system itself, and it ignores the policies and the culture that allow extreme violence, this goonish, thuggish behavior to occur in the first place. It also downplays the experiences of those of us who have suffered at the hands of the evil empire, suggesting that our trauma is the result of a rare and unfortunate occurrence rather than a widespread issue. When law enforcement agencies, when these bastards fail to adequately address the actions of these bad apples, it confirms the impression that the entire profession is complicit in their behavior. Meaning, when you fail to address it, only put them on leave or never fire them or whatever the case may be, or find some jigsaw way to justify it, it reinforces, spoils the bunch. In many high-profile cases of police conduct, the offending officers were not immediately fired or even prosecuted. Instead, were often placed on administrative leave, allowed to resign, or in some cases were allowed to go get rehired by other police departments. This profound lack of unaccountability, I think that's phrasing wrong. Profound lack of accountability sends the message that police are more interested in protecting these thug ass animals than upholding any sense of humanity. This perception of corruption is reinforced when we see instances of the so-called blue wall of silence, when officers refuse to speak out against their colleagues even when they witness the misconduct. A few bad apples will spoil the bunch. That is the fucking phrase. And the blue wall of silence is the spoiled bunch. That's why I say there is no such thing as a fucking good cop. The culture of silence and protectionism can make it seem like the entire police force, well, not can make it seem like, it makes the entire police force complicit in the cover-up of the wrongdoing, which further solidifies with black folk that you bastards shall not be trusted. Now, here's an example of when the bad apple phrase has been used in the media, illustrating how often it's deployed to minimize the perception of issues within the police department. Let's take George Floyd. Despite what you think about the entire case, we all witnessed that man choking that man out. We saw what we saw. And law enforcement officials across the country kept using the phrase "a few bad apples," suggesting that police officer Derek Chauvin actions were not representative of the police force as a whole, which is a lie. This was despite widespread protests and evidence suggesting that racial bias and excessive force were not isolated incidences. How about Breonna Taylor? Following the killing of Breonna Taylor during a botched raid, following a botched raid at her home by the Louisville Police Department, some officials again invoked the bad apples narrative, framing the event as a result of a few officers' mistakes, rather than acknowledging the broader issue with no-knock warrants and racial profiling. What about in 2017, the Baltimore police scandal, in the wake of corruption scandals involving Baltimore Police Department gun task force, where officers were found guilty of robbery, extortion, planting evidence? The department leadership described these officers involved as a few bad apples. If this shit happened in you know how long them bastards had to been doing this, but it's only a few bad apples. Spoils the bunch. Despite the evidence of widespread corruption throughout the Baltimore Police Department, hey, we're just gonna hang this shit around these few bad apples. What about in Chicago in 2014 with the Chicago Police Department and Laquan McDonald? After the Chicago police officer Jason Van Dyke shot and killed a 17-year-old kid Laquan McDonald, city official, police, the spokesperson for the police department, was quick to call Officer Van Dyke as a bad apple. However, we all know about the fucking Chicago PD and how corrupt they are. And let's not forget, in 2014, Eric Gardner being choked out on a New York sidewalk for selling fucking cigarettes. And those officers, leadership in the NYPD described the police officers who fucking murdered him on a sidewalk as a few bad apples. These examples demonstrate that the bad apple narrative is used to shield and protect a seemingly criminal institution. Law enforcement is a criminal empire in itself, in my opinion. By framing these incidents as a result of individual misconduct, it prevents the rest of us from asking more difficult questions about the system that the systematic issues that plague police departments and the willingness to have these behaviors continue. And I'm saying the reason why they keep the reason why this whole protect and serve that propaganda is because the law enforcement field is a fucking criminal empire. It's a criminal empire, and nothing but fucking criminals work for them. And not only do they have a varying degree of criminals in the police department, they got their wing of the police department that is willing to murder in its name. If we keep hearing about bad apples in the police departments across the country, it suggests that that there's something fundamentally wrong. A profession that regularly produces bad apples without addressing the root cause is one that is entirely rotten. But we just got a few bad apples.
I think the narrative that that the police are on some epidemic of shooting unarmed black men is simply a false narrative, and also the narrative that that's based on race. The fact of the matter is it's very rare for an unarmed African American to be shot by a white police officer.
much like everybody else, we should all just get disgusted when we see the phrase Black Lives Matter now because of what that rogue organization of dyke women did. Did to abuse the phrase Black Lives Matter. But I think that video, served the point. When it comes to dealing with police, especially for Black people, the stakes are just incredibly too high. The history of policing in the United States, coupled with the ongoing reality of racial violence against Black folks, makes any interaction with law enforcement fraught with danger. This is not about me or any one of us being paranoid. It's about survival. Black people should seriously reconsider volunteering to interact with the police in any capacity, because doing so can have life-altering and even life-threatening consequences. In part 2 of The Devil in Blue, A Few Bad Apples, I'm going to spend that entire stream talking about why we should not interact with law enforcement, and then your rights that you need to know and what you should not do, especially if they come knocking at your door. There's a reason why NWA made the song, fuck the police. There's a reason why that. Until next time, y'all.
That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. Stand clear, done man attack. You can't stand where I stand, you can't walk where I walk. Watch out, we run New York. Policeman come, we bust them out the park. I know this for a fact. You don't like how I act. You claim I'm selling crack, but you be doing that. I'd rather say see ya, cause I would never be ya. Be your officer, you wicked overseer. You hot shot, wanna get props and be a savior. First show a little respect, change your behavior. Change your attitude, change your plan. There could never really be justice or stolen land. Are you really for peace and equality? Or when my car's hooked up, you know you wanna follow me. Your laws are minimal, cause you won't even think about looking at the real criminal. This has got to cease, cause we be getting hyped to the sound of the police. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. Now here's a little truth. Open up your eye while you're checking out the boombox. Check the exercise. Take the word overseer like a sample. Repeat it very quickly in a crew, for example. Overseer, 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 officer, 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 officer. Yeah, officer from overseer. You need a little clarity? Check the similarity. The overseer rode around the plantation. The officer is on patrol in our nation. The overseer could stop you what you're doing.